I'm Tyler Resnick. I play drums on the Cinder from Buffalo, New York. So a lot of my influences growing up, it's kind of embarrassing, but when I was younger, I really liked the band Avenged Sevenfold. The first two albums are not as bad as everyone thinks they are, but the Rev really got me into like playing drums initially. And I liked Green Day and stuff, and that kind of started punk rock happening. But then, like, I didn't really care so much about Trey Cool until later on. Uh, there were so many bands like kind of around then, but I still wasn't that like interested in the drummers. Like I got way more into like the Who and Keith Moon.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa, this feeling is so different, and like it feels like chaos. Like it's always just towing the line of about to fall apart.
Yeah.
But like then you'd listen to it and be like, it's tight, but it's gross and like kind of wrong. But somehow it just fits in perfectly. So like Keith Moon, kinda. I would probably say another influence would be like Rodney Mullen. Like I was huge into skateboarding as a kid, and to a certain degree still am. But like just like in the '90s and everything.
He was all freestyle.
Well, yeah, it was like the '90s so big on like Tony Hawk, and going through and like kind of getting into it more. Watching the old like Enjoy videos and the like the Almost videos, where watching him be completely himself and fundamentally different than the biggest thing on the planet, like Tony Hawk doing the 900 vert skating. To this day, I still can't drop in. Like big flip, got it. Drop in, no dice. I'm gonna eat shit. And to keep going with more influences, Chris Thatcher from Streetlight Manifesto, I always credit him with basically teaching me how to play fast. Like a lot of times I get a lot of compliments from other players about like being really tight and really fast and being able to like throw in 30-second note fills already going way too fast. And it was all because I learned to play somewhere in the between and everything went numb front to back. That dude is a monster, like, and I think he's probably one of the most underrated drummers, like, in the modern era. Like, he rips, he's so fast, he's so technical, he's so tight, like, syncopated, like, but always really in the groove. Alright, what got me into punk? I will unabashedly say, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 soundtrack. I don't care. I'm fucking 30. Like, when I was a kid, like, my parents listened to Garth Brooks and Elvis and the Four Seasons, Chicago. I had no idea what the hell punk rock was. Like, my mom listens to, like, pop country. So I had no exposure to this until, like, except skateboarding. And then I'd be like, oh, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. This Rage Against the Machine song is pretty cool. And I'd be like, oh, this Bad Religion, You, to this day, is still my favorite Bad Religion song.
Yeah, it's a good song.
And it's, like, it's a deep cut on an album that, well, I guess people really like that album. But, like, there's so many other great songs on that album. I feel like You gets buried.
Yeah.
And it's just all the stuff that Anthrax and that they do Bring the Noise. Oh, I feel like such a jerk because I can't remember. But like all the that was really the jumping off point, and then eventually it became like Green Day was the hottest thing in the world. So like, and I got Dookie from my aunt's daughter's boyfriend at the time. They're married now, but he got me Dookie for Christmas because he was into it, and he was into like the Boss Tones and stuff. So I got like we traded CDs, and he kind of pushed that further, and I can get more stuff. And I didn't have real internet for a very long time, so I'm like the last bastion of like people who have like entire albums and like prefer entire albums, which I always think is really crazy. Like, so many of these deep cuts on these albums are like the best songs. Like You, like not, it's not like the single
Yeah.
And it's like, but it is on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. All right, first concert, as far as I can remember, me and the group of kids that I went skateboarding with went downtown, and it was a Thursday, and that's a very important thing in Buffalo because we used to have a free concert series Thursday at the Square.
Oh,
So it would literally just be a bunch of gates in this big square downtown where there's like a big statue, and we didn't know who was playing. We didn't even care. We were downtown to skate. So we're skating the Bison Stadium. We're going over to all these different stairs, handrails, the huge ledges. That was my game.
yeah.
And we rolled past the concert, and we're like, oh, someone's playing. It was Saliva. And they played Click, Click, Boom.
Oh, jeez.
That was the first mosh pit that I was in. That was interesting. That was in like 7th grade, like 7th or 8th grade. There was then there was a pretty big hiatus after Saliva because I was like, it has to be better than that. But it was still fun. Like
Yeah.
it was great to be out there with the guys, not doing anything, just skating and
Yeah.
watching this crazy new metal band, if they can be classified as that. And then I don't think that I really went, like, I didn't get around to a ton of concerts, like, even though I was getting more and more into the music. I don't think that, like, I think it was either that summer or the next summer, I got tickets to Warped Tour.
Nice.
And I saw everyone. That was like Bad Religion, Flogging Molly, Big D and the Kids Table, Real Big Fish, The Bouncing Souls, Descendants. That was just huge. And like
Pennywise.
getting to watch all those guys for just for 25 minutes or some stuff. Save Ferris, like, was awesome. And I think that was like the real tipping point into like I wanna do that. I wanna be that band. Like seeing 700 people line up for Bad Religion for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Plus, I already loved that band. I had so many of the other bands that were there. It was impossible to make it, like, I had to make decisions. And, like, we got to play the Warped Tour in 2018 and 2019, and that was super gnarly. A lot easier to make decisions, though. Alright, so favorite shows, I've seen Streetlight like 5 or 6 times. Their show is always just incredible, super tight. I get to watch Chris play. All their horns are just like pumping. The energy of that building for that show is perfect. Seen Wilhelm Scream twice. Those guys are absolute rippers, and they're like the nicest dudes on the planet. We got to play with them in Buffalo, and that was absolutely like a bucket list check off the box. Like, we wanted to do that. We wanted to do that for so long. And we finally got to do it, and we got to hang out with those guys. They were very cool. And we still want to go on tour with them. And we'll make them make good on that. Yeah. That Warped Tour holds a really special place for me. And probably the favorite show that we played, it's either the Wilhelm Scream show or we played a show with the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones in Rochester. That was absolutely nuts. Like, packed front to back, straight in the beginning, and just wild. We got getting to hang out with those guys afterwards too. Like, the very little we did. It was there was an opener for that show too that I really liked, and it was Bedouin Soundclash, and they're like a kind of reggae trad ska band. But I hung out with their drummer for a while, and we talked shop. It was very cool. All right. The craziest stuff that has happened to us usually does not happen at the shows. Like the shows get wild. We've had all sorts of nut stuff. We've had people crowd surfing in basements and in living rooms, and at least one time someone crowd surfed in a living room and kicked the lamp out of a ceiling fan, which was pretty dope. That was in not Denver, Fort Collins. Like some of those things have been wild. I was at a show in Buffalo where the floor collapsed at the waiting room. That was pretty gnarly. And then our friend Tim climbed the building drunkenly, and he got up there and he was like a dog chasing a tire. Everyone started shouting speech, and he was like, "I just want my money back." The craziest thing that has probably ever happened to us, and I feel names withheld because I'd feel bad to, like, it's not like blowing anyone in, but I feel like this kid's a little embarrassed. We went in North Carolina. We played a show. It was pretty good. And the person that we were planning on staying with that night couldn't do it. Some stuff came up, and she was like, "Sorry guys, I really can't." And we're like, "All right, we're either gonna have to, we're gonna have to figure it out." And one of the kids who saw us play was like, "You guys are rad. Do you want to crash at my place? We'll drink some beers and watch kung fu movies. I'll cook you dinner."
Perfect.
We're like, that sounds like the best thing ever. This is like the third week of tour. We're ready to go home. And we're still 13 hours away. So we get to his house, and everything as it sounds. We are drinking beers. We have Game of Death on. We are rolling in. We're just BSing after the show. We're joking. 3 weeks in a tour or something. So all the inside jokes have really maxed out. So four something in the morning, people have fallen asleep. This guy's fallen asleep. We're like, all right, it's time to call it.
Yeah.
5 in the morning. Door busts open. "Who the fuck are you people? Why are you in my house?"
Oh shit.
Whoa. What the hell is going on? This dude is mad. And we have no idea who this is. We figured that we're just staying at some kid's apartment and, whatever. Like, we've rented houses in Buffalo for years and years and years. Same deal? Apparently not. This dude is freaking out. And he's freaking us out. Because he's talking all this stuff like, "How do I know that you didn't rob me? How do I know that you're not on drugs?" And we're like, "Why would we rob you and then stay in your house?" He goes, "Well, I got guns in my room. How do I know you didn't take my guns?" And at this point, we are now actually afraid. We're like, "Oh shit, this dude is nuts. He's talking about his guns. He's like clearly unstable." Like, the more that you look at him, the weirder it became. It looks like he's wearing eyeliner. He's got lipstick on his collar. It's 5 in the morning, and this dude is riled up. So we're like freaking out. We don't know who this guy is even. The guy who offered to hold us up for the night comes out. It's his dad. And they start arguing. And we, at this point, we're like, "I'm out of here. This is way to the south for me." So we're loading up. We're going to drive from North Carolina to Virginia Beach on 1 hour of sleep. But also the most exhilarating 20 minutes of our entire life. It gets weirder, too. Like, now this guy is starting to, apologize because he didn't know what was going on, because apparently his son never told him what was going on. So he offered us a garbage bag full of flannels in an attempt to make amends, which we turned down, but in retrospect, we should have taken those flannels. Although, I don't know, it could have been full of drugs or something. I don't want that, so... That's probably that story does have a part 2, but I have a feeling someone else is going to get to it. Screw 'em. So the next night we played Virginia Beach. We have a good friend, Andrew Skusel, who worked on a nuclear sub for years and years and years. Crazy little guy. Great friend, though. He saw us in Virginia Beach because he was short up, and he was like, "You guys look like shit." We told him the whole story. He goes, "Go get a hotel room." We're like, no, come on, you can't just give us the money for it. And he's like, no, you look like shit. Go get a hotel room. So we go get the hotel room, and the key doesn't work. The key doesn't work. The key doesn't work. We're like, I don't know. The guy probably just didn't write it correctly. So Mike goes back down the stairs, and he's gonna go get a new key or get a new room or whatever. And a dude opens the door from inside the hotel room, and he is like nude except for a t-shirt that he's got pulled over his junk, and he's wearing theatrical cat eye contacts. His hair is dyed stark white, and he goes, "Hey y'all, if you just tell them that the air conditioning is broken or the TV don't work, they'll just give you a new room and 1 hour of sleep." This is the next day. So me and Jay were up there just holding our bags and went, okie dokie. Mike comes back, he's like, I got a new room. We're like, good. So that was the craziest 2 days of tour that we probably ever had. So previously, me and Mike actually played together in a band called the Stakeouts. That was my first band ever, outside of like some jamming around in high school. So we did the Stakeouts, and that was also our first taste of like touring and everything. We went down to Florida in 2013, maybe.
Nice.
The whole thing, maybe 2 weeks. The band broke up almost immediately after, during the tour. It was a disaster. Like, looking back on it, we learned a lot of stuff by just doing it the entirely wrong way. So when that band broke up, we were very briefly in a band called Uncommonly Smooth together, and in the time that was also, like, kind of starting, so both of those are ska bands, too. 7 people, whatever, 6 people, 5 people. Like, all good friends, all good players. But in the process of doing Uncommonly Smooth, Jay's band broke up, and we lived together while we were going to school. So we just got together one night, and we were talking about how much of a pain in the ass it was to be in a band with so many people. And we were like, you guys want to be in like a punk band? Just the 3 of us? I've been listening to a bunch of punk music for my whole life. You want to give it a shot? And a 3-piece band. We wrote 8 songs, we played 2 shows, and then we played, the next show that we played was in New York City. And then it was touring, 1 week, 2 weeks, 8 weeks, 7 weeks, 5 weeks. So yeah, we had, on the Cinder is where I landed, and that's where we're staying now. Right. The thing that I like about being a musician the most is trying to portray or like communicate very specific feelings or like emotional responses through music. Like, even as a drummer, like I write a very little bit for the band, but like, so like I can get an outlet in that way, but like being able to try to convey something that's more than just, I'm pissed off, I'm upset, I'm sad, I'm happy. Like, to me, there's nothing that quite does it like, have you ever had the best chicken wing in your entire life? And there is a moment where you realize that,
Buffalo.
and you're like try to put that into a song, like trying to get that moment, or like, and whatever it is, like not just trying to be mad about something, like trying to convey to someone else that you've just had the worst day that you've ever had at work, and you're gonna drive your car into a telephone pole, and then have someone listen to that and be like, I felt like that too. But not like, because that's more than just, I'm sad. Everyone's been sad. Everyone's been sad, and infinitely, like as many stars as there are in the galaxy are ways that people have been upset. And like that's the beauty of like punk music, is honing in on all of those very specific ways that people have had to, deal with stuff, and like the uniqueness and the individuality that exists so much, especially in punk and hardcore, and like that's what I really like about being a musician, is trying to key in on those little things, just little tweaks, and like as a drummer doing just so much support work to be like when Mike or Jay brings a song or a riff or whatever, and trying to be like, this is what the song is about, this is the feeling that we're going for, like we want to get like, you know, it's not just angry, it's very specifically angry, and trying to really put that pin in there, and then hoping that when people listen to it, they're like, they can connect with a very specific part of their life too. Then that's how you really like nail it. It's so rewarding. The thing that I dislike the most as a drummer, tearing down is a real thing. Like there's so much stuff, and like I can never. It's so hard for me to invest in things that I don't play, if you know what I mean. Like things that don't make sound. Like I hate buying stands. They're just stands. They don't make a sound. I could spend, and they're expensive. You want like a decent boom stand, it turns into $120, and it's like I could get a used cymbal for that. And like even if it is something that's kind of chintzy, maybe I turn it into a stack. Maybe I do something cool with it. Maybe it's the exact sound that I want. So that's another thing that I don't like. Being a musician is fucking expensive.
Yep.
Gas is expensive. Gear is expensive. Traveling is expensive. Like, it would be really cool if it wasn't, but sometimes it makes it really hard. Plus, it's tough. The amount of touring that we do, like, my family is very, very close, and like having to be away from them for an extended period of time can be kind of tough. Like being away from my girlfriend is kind of hard. Like, well, especially now being up in Canada, we don't have any service, so it's not just like I'm just gonna flip her a quick text real quick, see how she's doing. It's like I'll let you know when I got Wi-Fi again. That's tough. That stuff I think is infinitely harder than just like, it costs money, and it's Jay and Mike are hanging out at the bar with a bunch of cool people, and I'm lugging my gear down the stairs. But we're usually good at that too. We have a whole Tetris system, so it's not so bad. Favorite food? Easy squeezy. Chicken finger subs. I eat a chicken finger sub before I go on tour. I eat a chicken finger sub when I get back from tour. Every single time. Doesn't matter if it's 3 days, doesn't matter if it's 8 weeks. Alright, probably the most useless knowledge that I have is not encyclopedic, but there's a lot of wrestling that I'm aware of from the mid 80s to right now. Everything from whatever 8 million insider reports on the Montreal Screwjob with Bret Hart, and I don't know, it's backstage stuff and how nobody liked Goldberg. Chris Jericho hates Goldberg. There's all sorts of fun stuff with that. If you ever want to talk to me about wrestling, I'll ruin your whole night.